Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Architecture of Health. I'm Deb Voisin, and my guest this week is the inventor of Oseto-Eveil, or osteo-awareness. Her name is Michele Tarento, and she's got a colleague named Agnes Douillet helping explain further the concepts today. And the reason I'm attracted to these people is they're bridging the gap between art and everyday life with biotensegrity and this rebounding, recoiling, joyful way of moving that we were all meant to experience, but many of us in modern life struggle to find. I heard about them from a friend in Europe, and I'm very excited that they're here today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell me, how did you even get into this field so much that you ended up inventing Oseto-Eveil?
So I am osteopath, senior lecturer retired in histology, embryology, modern dance teacher, conceptor of somatic approach called Oseto-Eveil or osteo-awareness, and writer of 2 books in French about this subject. Mine is Michele Tarento. After graduating from Medical University in Paris with a degree in human biology, I started teaching histology, embryology, and cell biology to medical students in 1975. And it was at this time that I began to realize a childhood dream. I started taking dance classes. Gradually, the number of classes went up from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 a week. And quite fast, in 1978, I have been performing on a big stage in Paris. The training was intense, and very quickly, an old backache I had suffered from in the past became much worse. The company director advised me to go and see an osteopath. And to my great surprise, he relieved my pain from the very first consultation. This led me to question this manual practitioner in order to understand his body's approach. And it explained to me that osteopathy emphasizes that there is a tensional continuum in the body supported by the fascial system, which is a whole. And to make his diagnosis, he was identifying areas of very strong or very weak rigidity in his patient's body, and then he readjusted them. The body's response to this readjustment obeys to the principle of self-healing, homeostasis, which is at the heart of the philosophy of osteopathy. It is important to know that osteopathy is both a manual medicine and a philosophy. Referring to the lesion, Andrew Taylor Still, the creator of osteopathy, said, "Find it, fix it, leave it alone. Let nature do the rest." Personally, I became enthusiastic about this holistic manual approach, so I decided to study osteopathy, and I graduated in 1985. And then I added contemporary dance classes to my Afro-American dance classes, as well as classical dance classes and theoretical course in dance, notation, and dance history, and graduated in contemporary dance in 1993. Nonetheless, complementarity practice were necessary to my needs to be more aware of posture and movement. I found them in yoga and in Tai Chi Chuan. So bridge between osteopathy, movement, and dance happened naturally, while my consciousness increased. And then I began to choreography for dances. And it is then that I began to look forward solutions to extend dancers' body states in safety, comfort, and serenity. And without even looking for them, I began to find innovative awareness raising and preventive tools for me and dancers who worked with me. In particular, it was during an introspective walk that I began, without having clearly decided to do so, to rhythmically tap my anterior iliac spines and then my posterior iliac spine. This tapping was the beginning of a long relationship with bones, their material, their architecture, which I have never ceased to question. And a well-systematized practice has been put in place. I called it réveil osseux in French, and in English, bone awakening. It was the first step in my somatic approach, which I call Oseto-Eveil, osteo-awareness. And so onward, Oseto-Eveil has gradually established itself among the other somatic body approaches, like Gerda Alexander, Matthias Alexander, Axis Syllabus, Feldenkrais, body mind centering. And since 1995, I never ceased deepen my discoveries and to disseminate my work and to share it around through international seminars, workshops, articles, books, and conferences.
Wow. Wow, that is quite a story. That when I was reading your bio, that you were both a medical doctor and then an osteopath and a dancer, and now bringing this work to so many people. I love hearing your story. So tell me, what does Osteto-Eveil look like? What is it?
Oseto-Eveil, osteo-awareness, is an introspective, preventive, and creative somatic approach. It emerged from various bridges I have built between osteopathy and basic sciences, in particular histology, which is science of body tissue, embryology, and human biology, which I taught for 40 years to medical students in parallel with my modern dance, which I taught for 20 years. And in 2011, Oseto-Eveil, osteo-awareness, has been surprisingly enhanced by my encounter with the concept of biotensegrity and the paradigm shifts that it brings. That year, 2011, I attended at the European School of Osteopathy in Maidstone in England a seminar with Steve Levin, an orthopedic surgeon, and there I discovered the principle of tensegrity architecture that Steve Levin was applying to the human body and called biotensegrity. I will speak about it in the next. So what are the Oseto-Eveil three main aspects? The first one is personal development. By focusing on bone matter, in particular the different rigidity and density of various tissues, as well as the architecture of the bones in our skeleton, we can significantly optimize our body awareness. Bone awakening is an essential point inside our introspective practices. As we practice it, we develop a precise map of bone tuberosities and the perception of the difference in rigidity from one side to the other side. The second aspect of Oseto-Eveil is the preventive aspect. It aims to develop daily autonomy in the field of health architecture. Implicitly, a preventive aspect emerges and is combined with the therapeutic aspect of any medicine. It is particularly the case for Qigong and Tai Chi Chuan in relation with acupuncture. And now it is the case between Oseto-Eveil and osteopathy. In our Oseto-Eveil field, we use different ways to stimulate the elastic dynamism of tissue through rhythmic practices. As we know, rhythm releases progressively and surely the tension. I encountered that much in African dance. And for me, optimizing postural adaptability is an important part of this preventive approach. As we know, posture is considered by Wilhelm Reich and Alexander Lowen as a response to the world in the same way as character and must be respected as such. It is postural adaptability rather than posture that we take into account in our various practices. So we aim to optimize awareness to our aliments and restore an elastic margin of comfort within the body. And the third aspect is the creative aspect of osteo-awareness. It extends our practice towards playful improvisation. It is important that specific periods of letting go and pure pleasure of movement follow on from periods of intense concentration. So now, a last aspect is what is touch like in osteo-awareness. Given that it's based on osteopathy, which is a manual practice, a manual medicine, it is important to specify that touch is endowed with a neutral kindness that listens to oneself and to others. It goes hand in hand with the measured consent of the people with whom we share our practice. So it is at the very start of the session, during the first talking circle, that any restriction on being touched are established in a spirit of confidence. Thus, Oseto-Eveil is a manual approach to the physical body, which obviously implies that we also enter into contact with the emotional and the mental aspect and the whole history of the person. As a result, memories and emotional emergence may occur, which will be welcomed with respect and kindness. And now, who is transmitting the Oseto-Eveil? Me, and also 3 highly qualified people who have followed my osteo-awareness training courses for many years. They are Aline Leclerc, Agnes Douillet, and Fabrice Baudard. Their email address can be found at the end of my website in French, www.osteoeveil.fr. These 3 people teach in French, and Agnes Douillet, who is next to me today and who lived in California for 3 years, teaches also Oseto-Eveil in English. Agnes has posted my bone awakening practices in English on her website. She did very well, and you will see in the future. I hope you will look at every day. And her website is www.agnesdouillet.com. And Oseto-Eveil and Bone Awakening are each protected by copyright. So now, would you add something, Agnes?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Maybe let present myself first to understand why I'm here. So I started Oseto-Eveil back in 2002. At that time, I was working as a full-time banker. I'm still working like that. And it was really a challenge for my body to be seated in front of a computer or at a desk all day long. So I was really practicing dance 2, 3, sometimes 4 times per week. And I tried to find some dance classes close to my home. And this is how I met Michele and Oseto-Eveil. And from day one, I would say, so from the first day, I took this class and I knew, okay, this was just it. It was for me. So why? Why was it like that? So it was like that. What can I say? Why did I choose this somatic approach instead of another? First, the priority is given to the physical body, to the biomechanics of the body, with a priority given to the skeleton. And this immediately allows to explore very deep and subtle parts of our body and mind. So when you start exploring so deeply, just it will continue for your life. It's not always easy. Even if we try, we aim at more comfort, but it's not always comfortable to explore that, even if it will produce more comfort. The second part is, I would say, Oseto-Eveil aims at improving the comfort of your body with respect. And it's not the idea of that your body is a tool, and with this tool, you can perform as best as you can. No, your body is a partner. And how could we have a great partnership, a balanced partnership with our body? So this is really key, and this is the philosophy of Oseto-Eveil as well. And I would add something, the third reason for choosing Oseto-Eveil is the creative aspect of Oseto-Eveil. And when we say creative, some people say, oh, I think it's for artists. No, it's for everybody. Everybody, whatever our physical condition is. And maybe this is something I can add. Oseto-Eveil is for people who are dancers, but also for people who are disabled, who work like me at a desk all day long, and then they need to move their body, So there is something in terms of openness to everybody, which is key. And the last point is, from my knowledge, the Oseto-Eveil is the unique somatic approach that navigates with such a rigor between theory and practice. So each time there is a practice, it's funded. It does not come from nowhere. It's not only the empiric feeling of Michele who experimented something and proposed it. No, she has all the knowledge from our very deep knowledge in medicine and osteopathy that explains why we do this practice and not another.
Wow, ladies, so many things I'm aligned with here. I'm already calculating the cost of a plane ticket. I have to say, I love this. Okay. The idea of self-healing and homeostasis. Yes, everything we do should bring us back to autonomy. Yes, I've gotten my addictive mindset at times. I find a practice and I do it, and then I haven't found myself. I haven't found my own power. And yet, and also you say you start with the body first. Yes, there have been times where I did the opposite and I spiritually bypassed. Oh, I'll feel my way out of this pain, and it's only in my spirit that I have this pain. And and that you have this background with medicine and osteopathy, and this method though that also involves the creative aspect. What I found recently is when I re-injured a hip that I'd torn many times, many years. It started when I was a kid, actually, and I re-injured it. And I went to an improv theater class where I felt very safe, and we were just playing and just fun, light games. And it immediately hurt. Like the pain was gone. I was playing. And of course, then I came back to my everyday life, and it didn't last forever. But yes, to that place where you bring your healing out into relationship. And finally, as an American who wants to make everything a tool, almost like I'm an engineer, your body as a partner, I love that. I just love it. And the emphasis on the bones, and that you have enough theory to know that you're going the right direction. I've studied, like when I was a yoga teacher in '93, I taught 15 times a week. I didn't truly understand why I was doing what I was doing, or I just trusted, oh, this must be good for you. I just trusted. And yet, everything is designed to a specific context. The yoga classes I had in the United States, I'm not sure that they were designed for my exact context, which is, restoring that. What did you say about adaptability? Postural adaptability. Yeah. So very exciting to find you guys. And finally, African dance is what got me out of some of my worst. So African dance, Access Syllabus helped a lot too. And recently, learning more about that biotensegrity, I'm helping to express to people the bones and the movement patterns that go along with biotensegrity. But you've got this fully thought out practice, and I'm really excited. So tell me more. Well, let's share with the audience. This biotensegrity idea, I first encountered in the Access Syllabus. I only encountered that like 5 years ago, but it explained to me why West African dance worked. It explained to me, I could finally see the sacred geometry and the elastic recoil. And yet, as a modern person sitting at my computer all the time, I need some restorative tools. And so tell me, and once I learned about biotensegrity, I got way more optimistic, because I was like, oh, we're mostly liquid. Even the bones are 20% liquid, and that it's this tensional system that you can retension, or you can add so much tension you compress into a tight ball, trying so hard to be strong, trying so hard to be healthy. So fluid, elastic, changeable, adaptable, but that can be great or that can be terrible if you're adapting to negative stimulus, I think. So tell me, explain to the audience, what is tensegrity and biotensegrity? Because I just started learning.
So, tensegrity is a set of innovative architectural principles. The term tensegrity was coined by Buckminster Fuller in 1950. And one of the fundamental architectural principles of tensegrity is island of compression in ocean of tension. And it was by applying this principle, after having collaborated with Buckminster Fuller by helping him to prepare one of his lectures, that the artist Kenneth Nelson created the first tensegrity architecture. In particular, his famous 860 inches high tower, which resists all winds and can be seen at the entrance of the Ishorn Museum in Washington, D.C. Each element of this tower is coordinated to the others and takes part in its permanent quest of stability. Stephen Lewin's biotensegrity concept applies the principle of tensegrity to the spatial organization of the fascia architecture of the body. Bones are the discontinuous element in compression. They are linked together by aponeurosis, ligaments, tendons, and muscle in tension. As it is often the case in research, at almost the same period as Steve Levin, another researcher, and this time in biology, Donald Ingber at the University of Harvard, applied the tensegrity principle to the cytoskeleton of living cells. In every system, whatever the scale, two synergetic forces, tension and compression, oppose and balance each other, giving the system its reactivity. And from the macroscopic to the microscopic scale, elements are constantly readjusting under stress. This is one of the main features of living organisms. The principle of tensegrity applied to the human body provides us with a new way of conceiving anatomy that is very different from the body as a machine with levers approach that has been taught to us for centuries. In fact, biotensegrity does not consider the spine as a stack of bony parts placed one on top of the other, whose stability depends on the compression of gravitational force. Biotensegrity offers us an all-encompassing dynamic approach to fascia. They form a network in perpetual search of equilibrium and are governed by synergetic tensocompressive internal forces. Our spine has many similarities with Kenneth Nelson Tower, which is an oscillating system. And I invite you to take the time each day to place yourself in a calm, upright position for 5 or 10 minutes, and then to lower your tone until you perceive your spine oscillations. The perception of this oscillation is reminiscent of the small dance proposed by Steve Paxton, creator of Contact Impro, who recently passed away. So, tensegrity architecture are oscillators, and each of them and their system and subsystem vibrate at its own frequency. In the living world, the particular spatial organization of forces and their constant quest of stability produce a kind of breathing with alternative states of expansion and retraction in our different volumes. This respiration corresponds to phase changes in the living material, which transform from gel-like to liquid state and reciprocally. And this is what happens and what we can feel during slow movement sessions or when we apply a pressure on the body during a while. So it's important to insist to this oscillation as a contribution to phase changes, and it's often not clear to understand what we feel under our end as manual practitioner or as dancer when we explain things with a fluid sensation. In fact, it's phase change which happens. It's a sacred geometry and transformation of shapes. It's very important. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. So many things you said in there. The one about our body not being a machine with levers. And this quest for permanent stability that is expressed by this example you said of this tower in Washington, D.C., that nature, when you work with these principles, you get something that's super adaptable and is changing. And it sounds like you're suggesting one place any of us can start is by sitting, I'm assuming without, or standing or sitting without our backs resting against something, and lowering the tone, you said, until you can feel the tiny pulses, the tiny movements. And my son had a lot of health challenges when he was small. We did a lot with craniosacral therapy, and they would and Chinese medicine, where they would sense the pulses and the rhythms of the cerebrospinal fluid and the blood. And I love also finally that you use the word sacred geometry, because when we realize how much more awesome of a force we can align with when we work with nature, it's an awesome sacred experience rather than feeling broken and separate or mechanical and limited, yes, to the way things are. I love it. So tell me, along the way, helping people, figuring this out, what were some of the like the unexpected discoveries that you've made being in this so long?
So I will speak of small things because it's funny things that can happen after practicing bone awakening. I found 5 following results that can be observed. First, an optimized bone awareness with a greater sense of our bones as part of our body's living presence. Second, discovery, an optimized presence with ourselves, with our innermost being. Often we shift into a state of sharpened self-awareness, accompanied by a greater sparkle in our eyes. This is a recognizable stage in depressed people when they improve their condition. Suddenly we see the sparkle in their eyes when they improve their condition. The third unexpected discovery is an optimized awareness of posture and movement, resulting in more secure mobility and anchoring. The fourth one is an optimization of our elastic adaptability, resulting in a greater internal comfort, of course. And 5, psychic reassurance in terms of self-esteem and improved memory. These 5 parameters has been the subject of systematic qualitative observation I did on several occasions. And some of these results coincide with the research of Gérard Carcenti, a renowned French geneticist who works in Columbia University in New York. He showed that when a stressful situation is induced in mice population, an hormone called osteocalcin is released by the bone. Osteocalcin has a major role facing the stress that sometimes exceed that of the role of adrenaline. Gerard Karsanti says, in vertebrates, the stress response is not possible without osteocalcin. And how does osteocalcin act on autonomic nervous system in stress situation? In fact, osteocalcin deactivates the parasympathetic system and activates the sympathetic system. In particular, it helps animals to run more with more endurance. So it's a good aspect of stress because there is good stress and bad stress. So would you add something, Agnes?
Yes, maybe about these unexpected discoveries. So first, I would say that with Oseto-Eveil at the beginning, I was not expecting many things because I was not at the same place as Michele. So I just discovered with a lot of enthusiasm all the benefits of practicing. What I would like to say is that as a practitioner, I continue to discover it's never finished. So maybe this is one of my unexpected discovery is that you can always make progress in your perceptions. So maybe, you know, it really relies to the philosophy of Alva Noé, who is a philosopher teaching in Berkeley University. And he wrote a book called Action in Perception, which relies and from this book you understand that we are active in the way we perceive, and in Oseto-Eveil you learn a lot, you experiment a lot with your perceptions, and so your perceptions become more and more accurate and subtle. Your perception of yourself and your perception when you work with somebody else. And okay, so this is just a big adventure that never ends. I would add something about the unexpected discovery when I am a teacher, so not as a practitioner, as a teacher. In fact, each person has his, her, or their own relationship with their body. So each time I teach to different person, it's always different. And so it's so interesting to work with, you learn a lot by those differences, in fact. So how will I teach or not? So in terms of pedagogy, there is a challenge teaching Oseto-Eveil because of this full respect of everybody's different.
Yeah. Yes. And so the patterns that these unexpected discoveries start to suggest patterns that you've seen. I heard you talking about it helping with things you didn't expect it could help with, like depression, that you learned about also the research with the stress, is it a hormone? When you talked about it being even in the mice study, the rat study, where they were secreting this substance that was like adrenaline, but it was from the bones. That's fascinating to think about, reframing our stress using one of an awareness practice like this. So are there any other patterns you've seen, whether as a practitioner or an inventor or a teacher, that you've seen over and over that none of us would ever have seen?
In fact, I will answer about how people react after session of Oseto-Eveil discovery. At the beginning, when people come for the first time, and I've observed 3 different kind of reaction. The first one is there are people asking whether it has an effect on osteoporosis. It's an important point. And I can answer that there is no computed tomography which has been systematically performed after a series of bone awakening practices. And it would be good to bring our practices closer to rheumatology or immunology departments in the future. But in any case, we can say that bone awakening, by applying pressure to the bone material, stimulates bone cells, in particular osteocyte cells, which in turn stimulate bone remodeling, and in particular bone tissue synthesis and osteocalcin secretion by the osteoblast cell. So it's a first reaction. And there are another reaction of the people who has done 1 or 2 sessions of Oseto-Eveil. There are people who don't come back after this 1 or 2 sessions because the experience of meeting the living skeleton and its bone matter is so strong and unexpected that they don't come back after a while. It is true that through meeting the skeleton, we meet the fibrous core of being, which inevitably leads us to meet ourselves. And the third reaction is people who are definitively very enthusiastic and say they have never found a method like this, and that gives them such overall physical and emotional securities. The term of securities comes often, and that is what I can say. Agnes, would you add something?
Yes. So as I explained previously, that we are always in the unexpected discovery, it's true that I don't focus much on those common patterns. However, I could say that as Michele said, there is a lot of enthusiasm in increasing the physical security, and that this has always an impact in the people's life. It has an impact on how we take decision, because depending on how you feel in your bones, you know, in your skeleton, then you are at meeting, at work, you won't take the same decision as if you feel tired or you're not really deeply in yourself. As well, finding your professional path, adjusting your behavior with your family. So it's not only the field of the somatic and the body. In fact, it goes to all the fields of your life, but always it brings you closer to your authentic self. And I would say, even for the people who decide not to come back, this one encounter or 2 workshops, you know, they had with Oseto-Eveil has made a difference for them. Sometimes it's not conscious, but it has made a difference.
Wow, so many interesting things regarding the depth of the possible change. It reminds me of the expression how you can say, I feel it in my bones. Like that's a deep feeling. What I found too with learning through my son's process, we reshaped his oral posture. We, used craniosacral. We were lucky that we found a dentist who didn't just push the teeth. We found a dentist that expressed the movement of the breath and the tongue and the structure of the cranial bones. And the first step of any of this is believing that you can feel better, is believing that there's a version of you that would feel even more secure, is what you're saying. And what I find often is it seems like a luxury. Some people, at least in the United States, seem to look at feeling good as a luxury. And it's only when something terrible happens that they'll start to look at change. And yet they're also in physical therapy and arts around the France is way ahead on physical therapy. I know people there who are physical therapists who were teaching things 20 years ago that are just now getting more popular in the United States. But it all going back to this understanding that we can change the tensions at a very deep level. And the last thing, my question is an authentic self. Authenticity is the highest vibration. I recently found out there was some research of 25,000 people. And when they were measuring, anger and sadness and these different emotional states, that love was below authenticity. So I love that you are talking about getting to becoming even more authentic, and yet in an even more secure version of ourselves than we were. So what does this look like? Are these group classes? Are these one-on-one sessions? Are they long? Are they short? And I hear what you said. Someone can have a significant life. Oh, this is the other thing people don't understand that I've seen. You can get a reset that could last a long time. You can get a change that when it's a deep neurological bone level change, it can last a long time. But also, I heard you say some people get enthusiastic and it becomes a practice. So tell me, what kind of places does this look like? What kind of classes? What would it look like for someone?
Yeah. Okay.
Agnes
So
will answer.
yeah. So I would say it takes some time to go to your bones. So there is no class less than minimum 2 hours or 2 hours and a half. This is a minimum. But when I say that, it's not really true, because sometimes there are some, for example, Aline Leclerc, one of the teachers, she does the preparation of contact dance improvisation through Oseto-Eveil. And so those dancers, they won't wait 2 hours and a half before dancing. So, sometimes you adjust. But if you really want to learn Oseto-Eveil, go to an Oseto-Eveil class. The minimum is more than 2 hours. And so there are some workshops. There could be some retreats. So usually we do some 30-hour retreats, so 5 days, 4 or 5 days retreats in France. Most of them are in France.
What you do?
I do as well in Sweden, in Stockholm, and in California. So I don't go in California every day, but I try to be there once a year.
Oh,
Next time will be in spring next year.
next year. Nice. Lovely.
I will keep you posted.
Yes. Great. And as far as getting started, the simplest, cheapest way anyone can start making a change in this direction, where do you think someone could start?
I should like to offer you a simple practice to conscientize and optimize your body's internal comfort. So I propose a practice which aims at optimizing your postural adaptability when you are sitting in front of your computer. So we begin in sitting position, and while seated, first you lean your torso forward and stay there and take time to perceive the rigidification that have just occurred at the front part of your upper body. And then return slowly around your vertical axis. And now lean your torso backwards and take time to perceive the rigidification that have occurred at the back part of your upper body. And then come back and find an intermediate position between the two previous positions. At its subtle place, the body begins to float around the vertical. Just make the tone a little lower and feel oscillation, slight oscillation. And there you can feel the melting away of the rigid zones and the resulting comfort. Then you can put the focus on perceiving how your two sit bones are anchored on your chair. And if it's not enough clear to feel them, try to do better, organize you in another way. Find creative solution. And then, if your feet are anchored in the ground, feel how they are anchored and improve this if necessary. Thank you.
That I've never had that before. I've never heard anything. I love that. Finding, especially feeling where we're getting tense so that we can go away from that, or going between the front body and the back body. I love it. And it's when I was studying something called a plum, it was this body of work Noelle Perez taught that she then taught to Jean Couch, and I was studying. It was about finding our plumb line hanging in hanging in a field of gravity rather than being rigid in a field of gravity, having that fluid.
Us too.
Fluidity. Great. Well, so how can going in this direction and investing in, okay, and one other thing that you said is one of your teachers uses it to warm people up for contact improv. That's how I got started. It was body mind centering, Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen's body mind centering back in 1987 was my first dance class ever as a young adult. And I didn't know how lucky I was that I got this introduction to movement in such a beautiful way. And honestly, I've lost that. I've become much more, in a hurry, doing exercise, not somatic work. And you're bringing me back to this root idea of sensing fluidity that I would like, I'll carry on with. So, and being a practical American, very practical, it's good to explain something else that people will be able to get rid of or not do if they head in this direction. What I found is some of the body awareness work I've been studying and teaching to a few people, the next sentence they say is, oh, well, now I'm going to go to the chiropractor, and then I'm going to the acupuncturist. And when they're in pain, they start doing all these things and they start spending all this money. So I always try to bring it back to autonomy. How can getting more embodied save you money instead of being looked at as just a luxury? It's just a hobby. Yeah.
So, yes, I think first, bone awakening practice on a daily basis stimulates the construction of your bone tissue, and with your doctor's agreement and after verification of the improvement of your bone mass, allows you to slightly reduce the doses of your osteoporosis treatment. Another important aspect that occurs fairly rapidly after regular practice of bone stimulation is the solid return of self-esteem. This can gradually and surely lead to a greater autonomy. In some cases, after an osteopathic consultation or a psychological interview to assess the result, it will be clearly possible to space out the consultation and their support, which may prove less necessary. And also, I suggest to find time in your daily life to put your body in rhythmic movements and possibly to dance. The simplest rhythmic movement is walking during 30 minutes a day at your own pace with 3 easy breathing, and find a comfortable tempo that allows you not to stop during these 30 minutes. It's the simplest thing. Then you can also multiply the opportunities to dance with others and also alone by listening to music and without music at home. Recent scientific studies have proved that dancing is one of the best antidepressants. And also in nature, let yourself be taken away by those moments of presence with yourself when you enter into harmony with the birds' songs in the forest or with the waves at the seaside. Let your body find spontaneous folding and unfolding movements. They are the emergence of your awareness of being there, in presence with yourself and what surrounds you. Remember how rhythm is in your everyday life can help you to release unnecessary tensions. It's important to know that each practice that you do regularly, even 5 minutes a day, transforms you and your internal body, and consequently your movement qualities and securities. So, thank you, dear Deb, for this initiation of deep sharings with Oseto-Eveil and Biotensegrity with me and Agnes. I hope all this will be useful for your architecture of health project. And now, Agnes,
Yes.
have you things to say?
Yeah, I would like to add 2 things. The first one is about the focus. When you say, what can we do to save money? And okay, maybe the first one is about the focus. Very often we focus about release tension, and very often we speak only about how to release tension or to be more fluid. With Oseto-Eveil and with Biotensegrity, you learn that it's more a question of balance between tension and compression. So it's a question of balance. But it's true that it's not how, our minds have been shaped by our Occidental culture, but it's really, if you focus on your balance, as with the little practice that Michele shared on the chair, it's a question of balance between tension and compression. This is why paying attention to the bones is very important, because the bones are the compressed element in the body. Now, and so I would start by the bones awakening, practicing the bones awakening every day, which I do every morning to start the day. It takes me 3 minutes. But when you learn it, first time you do it, it takes 1 hour. Okay, but you can learn it, and it's on my website. I have a 12-minute video on my website. It's in English, with my neighbor in Berkeley did the voice, so he names all the different spots on the body that you should tap or press. And so starting to do that on a daily basis, I think it's really a life changer. So at least try to do it 3 weeks and see if you feel a difference or not. And then it will become a routine, and you will never stop.
I love it. I'm going to do it. I make challenges for myself where I'll do something for 111 days.
Okay.
And my current challenge is sprinting beautifully and filming it in slow motion for 10 seconds every day. And I'm really changing how I move, because I'm watching it and I'm finding the rebound, I'm finding the torsion, the subtlety of it, just by sticking with something small. So I love this specific recommendation, is start with the 12-minute video at your website. And seriously, guys, I'm calculating how I can meet you in person. How exciting to meet someone that I have so much love of what you're doing. Thank you. So to our audience.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. And for our audience, I'll be putting all the links you need in the show notes. And have a great day. Bye.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.